Today's episode is brought to you by Bucket Golf. I am sick and tired of spending so much money to go play courses that really aren't even that good a shape and go put my Sunday best on just to get swamp ass and look like an idiot by the end of the day. That's where Bucket Golf comes in. In 3, 6, 9, and 18 hole sets, you can convert any backyard, any field, any park, anything really in general into your own personal golf course. You see us playing it down at Citizens Bank Park, and you're going to see us playing it a whole lot more this winter. Head on over to their website, bucketgolfgame.com. Use promo code Talkin215. Give them a great review and have the time of your life playing a game that we all love, but now stress-free with a beer in your hand, and it's not costing you an arm and a leg to play. Bucket Golf. Let's play, folks.
Welcome to Talkin 215, your go-to podcast for everything you need to know about Philly sports. Whether you bleed green, trust the process, fly with the Flyers, or fight with the Fightins, this is the place where we break down Broad Street. Jake, Sean, and Joey deep dive into the heart of Philly sports culture, breaking down games, roster moves, and sharing the stories that make the 215 truly legendary. So grab a cheesesteak, settle in, and let's get to Talkin 215. Now here's your host, Jake Biasado.
What's going on, everybody? It's your host, Jake. I'm here with the coach, Coach Joey. We're running duos tonight, but we're not playing Fortnite. We're talking a little Birds, Bengals. Let's see if we can go out here with a dub. Coach, how the hell are we feeling?
Doing good, man. Feeling good. It's game week. You know, we talked a little bit about the nice win last week. So now we're getting into the Cincy game, man.
Look, man, you're a little too melancholy for me. I was there. I was there 2 weeks ago. But they did exactly what we needed to see them do. They went out and whooped that ass. We were dying for just a comfortable win. We are dying for the Kenny Pickett fourth quarter snaps in a blowout win, and that's what we got. So we got to just hype it up. We're going to be talking about a number of things today on the docket. We've got matchups, key matchups to watch in this game. And then obviously we have our offensive, defensive player to watch, score predictions, and then whatever tangents we run along the way. Right off the bat with matchups, you look at this team a couple years ago facing the same Bengals team, I'd tell you I'm terrified. I'd tell you, look, they've got weapons left and right. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow's a hell of a quarterback, obviously having a little bit of an up and down season. But I'd tell you, this is terrifying. We got people just biting on the double move. It's going to be an airmail show where they're just throwing the ball deep downfield all game long. But I'm telling you, one of the number one units I'm confident in is the secondary right now. And I just feel like we match up probably better against them than we do against a number of other teams. It especially helps that they don't have an incredible run game. Although Sidney Brown might, have a little nepotism, say that it's not as bad as we think. We'll get into that in a little bit.
Yeah, I'm. If I had to compare, Jake, I would say that this Cincinnati Bengals team is like the AFC version of the Eagles almost. They're not playing their best ball. They've been a little sloppy, but when you look at that roster, you're like, damn, it doesn't matter what their record is. The people they have on this team can put up points. They have dangerous playmakers that can go off at any given time. That's kind of like us, right? Like even after wins, we've been like, we didn't play our best. It was a little sloppy, but do you really think anybody goes into a game against the Eagles, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Saquon, Jalen, and is like, they're only 2-2? No. They're kind of like the AFC version of us, man. And the part that scares me, kind of like what you were talking about, is they can wake up at any given time. At any given time, they could decide to say, hey, we're going to go ahead and decide to play our best football right now. What are you going to do about it? So that's what worries me a little bit, is the similarities there, man.
Yeah, no, obviously we have a lot of similarities. They have great weapons. We have great weapons. They're not playing their best ball. We're not playing our best ball. But to Tom's point, and obviously we're missing, Tommy Tomahawk Steaks out here. He's on husband duty tonight. That was a game that we needed. It was a game to build upon. And I'm talking about the game 2 weeks ago, and then against the Browns. And then last week we built upon it in a big way. Obviously, we're going to need to see a lot out of Jalen here. We were able to rely on the run game very heavily against the Giants. We didn't have to really pass it too much. We were uncomfortable down and distance to go almost every single time we had the ball, outside of the first quarter, of course, because we can't score in the first quarter. But this is a game that I think we're going to have to put up points. Like, we're going to have to go out there. We're not going to be able to run as heavily on the run game. Let me look up the the Bengals. I had an article here or just notes here on their rush defense, but it's middle of the pack. It's nothing incredible. It's nothing awful. They should be able to get Saquon going. Obviously, Saquon can pretty much go against anybody in the NFL. So he's obviously still going to be a vital part of this offense, but I don't think it's going to be anything like it was in New York, where we were able to just pretty much say, all right, we're running the ball nonstop. We'll throw it every now and then, but it's going to be a Saquon show.
And you know what allows you to run the ball too, Jake, is when, you're playing against the Giants and the Giants aren't getting first downs on any drive. They're just punting the ball back to the Eagles. So it's not like the Giants are threatening with a 7-3 lead or a 10-3 lead or, 13-0 lead. So you don't have to go away from your run game. You can stick with the run game on 4 or 5 straight drives because the Giants were doing nothing offensively.
Yeah.
You don't have to go pass happy and play catch up. Might be a little bit different with this Bengals team, obviously Joe Burrow versus Daniel Jones. And then you look at Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown versus what the Giants' weapons are. It's going to be different. But like you said, man, it's kind of like I put in my reel, right? Like what we talked about Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter. That was Jalen Carter's sack in the stat sheet, but that was such a team effort sack right there, right?
Yeah.
You're looking at things like that. I really think what you said about this secondary, how confident you are in them, I think Vic has them playing such great complementary football, like know your role, know your drops, know your assignment, pass off coverage, do this, do that. So the biggest testament to that is you giving Slay props last week, which, you rarely do because he's doing his assignment. He's not trying to play hero ball. He's not trying to do this, trying to do that. He knows his assignment. So does Q, so does Coop. So does the guys on the back end. So that secondary as a whole, kind of like the defensive line was coming together, is doing well. We don't need an individual guy to have 7-8 interceptions on this team. The whole secondary is just gelling together, and it's awesome.
No, exactly. It's unselfish playing, which is something that we're not really accustomed to in Philadelphia, as we got 3 different teams all trying to play just me. And it's great to see. I mean, you see the best teams are when everybody's just helping each other out, building upon each other. And that's where you get the best play out of them, best amount of high quality football. And that's what we're seeing right now. And it's really going to be another game. And this is kind of like an obvious statement, but it's going to be a game where we're going to need to see the defensive line get pressure, get him off of his spot, get him going. Because like we said, the weapons that they have are going to be difficult to really handle, even with Q, even with Slay. These are 2 of the top wide receivers in the NFL. I mean, one probably top 5. The other is, would be a number 1 on a lot of different teams. And so we're going to need to see him get a little bit of pressure and be able to kind of have that coverage sack, or excuse me, they aren't going to be able to rely every time on a coverage sack because of the weapons that they have. So having him throw not a perfect ball is going to help a lot, on top of just having guys playing good football, which I think we're going to have in Q and Slay. That was long-winded and didn't make a ton of sense, but
I see what you're saying. The defensive line definitely has to show up for the secondary to be able to do its job.
Yeah, essentially what I'm saying is we have a great secondary. They have very, very good. They have a great skill position core. If the defensive line doesn't show up, I would say it's a hell of a lot easier for great wide receivers to have a good game when the quarterback has no pressure than it is for great cornerbacks to have a great game when the quarterback has no pressure. The favor is on the wide receiver. I mean, look, cornerback's one of the most difficult positions to play in the NFL, and it's kind of silly, but the quarterback and the wide receiver know where they're going. The cornerback doesn't. When he's just guessing and trying to do his best to cover him, which they've been doing a phenomenal job of, it makes it a hell of a lot easier when there's Jalen Carter right in the quarterback's face to have him just kind of throw it up in the general area rather than a timing play. Okay, I know on this 10th step, he's cutting hard to the right. I can throw it right now because of where the position that Q is, that Slay is, that the Gene is. Where you get a little bit of pressure, you're able to kind of rely a little bit less on that. That was my long-winded summation of what I was saying.
It reminds me of something I saw on Twitter from a Giants fan. I don't know if you saw this going around, Jake, or not, but Malik Neighbors hinted at him being open a lot during the Eagles game. And I think when you ask a young guy, especially a rookie, things after the game, and he's not the greatest PR trained person, you're going to speak with your frustrations, right? You're going to say things maybe you shouldn't say, or maybe you weren't trained to say from a PR standpoint. And a guy put up a clip in all 22 of Malik Neighbors open 6 seconds after Daniel Jones hiked the ball and was being sacked. And they're like, look at him. He's beating Quinyon by 5 yards. I'm like, Quinyon sees 3 guys on Daniel Jones in the backfield. He's no longer running a sprint 60 yards down the field thinking Jones can throw off his back foot with 3 linemen on him. Like, you have your keys. So to your point, while Burrow and Chase and Higgins have that timing, have that connection, if you could force Burrow to move off of his spot, his platform, maybe throw it half a second earlier or half a second later, the littlest tip, the littlest deflection leading to an interception or an incomplete pass, you get off the field on third down. And that could be the difference in a game when playing a team with this type of weapons.
No, and it's going to be a time of possession battle, which we haven't won a lot of these games. And what we so desperately need is takeaways. I mean, we've got to be in the bottom of the NFL in takeaways. We have 3 interceptions.
There's some bad luck.
Oh, for sure.
With some of
them.
I
mean, especially like in that Bucs game before it just got completely blown out. Like, they had so many plays where they fumbled the ball and it bounced right back to them.
Just last week on Jalen Hunt's strip sack. Bounced right up to a Giants player.
No, exactly. And the one player didn't even know that the ball was live. No, but I mean, but luck can only go so far. I mean, we really need to force some of these, force our own luck with just solid fundamental football. They really need to preach just punching the ball out every single play. I always say it, like, it seems like we always have the ball punched out of us, but you never see that Eagles player other than a defensive end coming around the edge, throwing the punch at the quarterback. You never see him doing it when it's a wide receiver, when it's a running back and all. They get a decent tackle and they've been doing okay in the open field, but you're seeing no attempt at trying to get that ball out, which I would love to see. Would be nice if Q had hands. He could have 5 interceptions on the year, but you still really can't be upset about the defense that he's been providing. But a couple of takeaways here to take points off the board for Cincinnati and possibly turn them into points for us would go a long way in what should be a pretty offense heavy game.
Yeah, and the Bengals offensive line is getting healthier, but even when healthy, it's not the best offensive line in football, nor is it anywhere near it. This O-line is very, very beatable from a pass rush standpoint. If you look at some of the game, we talked about the Bengals aren't playing their best ball. You may have individual, moments where Chase or Brown or Higgins, plays really well, especially if you play fantasy football, you know what I'm talking about. But throughout the context of the game, there's a ton of 3 and outs with them. There's a ton of stalled drives. There's a ton of penalties or where Burrow has to throw it away, quickly because he can't get to his reads. Whatever the case is, this offensive line is beatable. And I really, really hope the Eagles can stack these last 2 defensive line performances onto this one and carry it and keep going with it.
Yeah, I mean, 13 sacks in the last 2 games is a tough pace to keep up. But if they can get, 4 or 5 sacks, a lot of pressures, that's going to be massive. I mean, again.
What do we say, Jake? What do we say on this about catches, about sacks, about tackles in the backfield? It's not the same on first as it is on third down. So if you only get 4 sacks and those 4 sacks are on third down,
it's the timeliness of it. It's they're driving, they're right on the edge of field goal range. You get the huge sack to knock them out and bring up 4th down. You get the sack late in the game to get the ball back and turnover on downs. It's these sacks. Like, we had plenty of sacks early last season that people are like, what are you talking about? Our sack numbers aren't terrible. And we're like, yeah, but look when we're getting them. It's 2nd and 1 and we sack them, make it 3rd and 5, and then they connect and convert the first down the very next play. So if we're able to get it in timeliness, get some quality sacks, some clutch sacks, would be huge. Well, really, like we said, this might be a game that we're going to need a closer. And we didn't need a closer last week. We obviously had a closer in Jalen in the week before against the Browns, but this is going to be a game where we're going to have to call the bullpen and get our closer out there. And I don't know who that's going to be, whether it's Jalen, whether it's Nolan Smith, who's playing pretty solid this year, really kind of coming into his own in this Vic Fangio defense, whether it's Cooper DeJean, or whether we have the ball on offense and it's, hey, get 2 first downs and the game's over. And we rely on Saquon, Jalen, AJ, something like that. I believe that we're probably going to need a closer in this game. And that's a little hint to where my score prediction might be. Obviously, probably 1 possession there, but I'll be interested to see your thoughts on who's going to be that clutch closer for the Eagles this week.
Yeah, you have a lot of guys that, have the potential to do it, have the potential to be it, but it probably varies on a game by game basis,
Of
right?
course.
Like you're playing the Giants, your closer is going to be different than you're playing the Bengals versus it's going to be different when you're playing the Cowboys, stuff like that. So I think for me, and I'll think about it a little bit more, but like do the obvious stuff. We talk about this with the Phillies, right? Like if there's nobody on base and Bryce Harper's up, why would anybody pitch to him? If you let Bryce Harper hit a solo shot with nobody on base and you pitch to him, that's your own fault. Don't let the star beat you. Put him on base and let JT swing at some pitches in the dirt and get out of the inning. Same thing if it's like 3rd and 12. I can't have Jamar Chase one-on-one with no safety help or with no coverage to that side or whatever the case is. Like, don't let the obvious star player beat you. Like, make it difficult for them. Frustrate Jamar Chase. Jam him at the line. Release him to another corner. Blitz from the side that Jamar Chase is on, so Burrow has to look to the other side or escape quick. Like, don't let the regular guys beat you or the star players beat you.
No, exactly. And we have guys that can really frustrate people, can get under people's skin. CJGJ is obviously one that comes immediately to mind. I need to see him get back into that tied for the lead in the league in interceptions. I mean, he's cost the team 2 interceptions. Obviously, the one was a penalty anyway, so it and oh, never mind. We did catch that ball. He nearly cost them another interception that was called back on a penalty anyway. Yeah. But he's cost the team interceptions. He's had a big stop on 4th down. But other than that, he's got under people's skin. He hasn't played any kind of incredible football. I mean, last week, do you even remember him being out on the field other than the ball that bounced off of his knee into Reed Blankenship's hands?
No, but that might not necessarily be a bad thing either.
No, exactly. And it was a game that we were in Daniel Jones' face nonstop. So it was like, other than some big plays by Slay and Q on Neighbors, there wasn't really much of any player in the secondary. You saw obviously Nakobe Dean having a career game, Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, guys like that. You didn't really see much out of the secondary, but I haven't really seen much out of CJGJ much at all this year. And so this is going to be a game that he could really shine in, get a little chippy, get some press coverage, maybe, put it in a zone where he presses him, bumps him off and drops him off to the next guy behind him, drops him off to DeJean, drops him off to Q, and then plays there in the slot in the nickel, something like that. But I could definitely see him just kind of chipping away at these guys at the line, getting under their skin. Obviously, he's a guy that's going to be talking a lot of smack all game long. So look for him to have a big game, and then look for everybody else to continue the status quo. Jalen Carter has been playing like one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL. You got Bryce Huff 3 weeks in a row has played better football each and every week. Looking for him to continue to improve on the game that he's slowly been getting. He had the most pressures 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago. He had a half sack last week. He had a full sack. I think he had a sack and a half this week and a tackle for a loss. So be looking for him to continue to build on that. And then who knows? Brandon Graham, we're talking about guys getting under people's skin. Everybody talks about how much they hate playing against Brandon Graham just because of all the smack he talks. I mean, the anonymous poll came out a month ago or so, and I was shocked because I thought people kind of liked it because he's never like being ridiculous over the top. He's just kind of having fun with it. But he's voted, I think, as like the second least liked player to play against, the second most annoying player to play against.
Oh yeah, he doesn't shut up like ever. And you're losing by 12 and it's raining and cold and you're in a away stadium and this guy won't shut up. You're like, my dude, come on, please stop. I can't deal with this. So little stuff like that, man. We need that edge. We need that little bit of feistiness from these boys, especially this Sunday. I want to see them beat the Bengals and use that as momentum going forward and be like, yeah, we're here. We're a little slow out the gates, but we're here, guys.
Yeah. No, exactly. Because even against some pretty shitty teams last year, when we got to 10-1, we talked about it. There was really no game other than maybe the Dolphins game, which wasn't really a blowout until late, or the Bucs game, again, was a close game until late, that we kind of whooped that ass. So this is already different than that stretch we had last year where it's like, all right, we dominated last week. I mean, they had under 150 total yards of offense. That's unheard of.
119. It was one of the lowest. One of the lowest in their franchise's history.
I mean, that's one of the lowest in NFL history in the last 20 years. That's insane with pretty much a healthy team. Like, other than some injuries on their offensive line, pretty much a healthy team.
Considering Saquon himself had 178
He had 176 rushing, I believe, another 20 receiving, something like that. He had darn close to 200 all-purpose. Also, he's on pace for over 2,000 all-purpose yards. So my hot take that you all kind of were like, whoa, that's a little lofty. I mean, yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Salute to Jake.
But I think we've talked a ton about the defense. The offense easily, if the defense plays average and the offense does what they should do, we should win handily.
Great
point. Like if we play average defense and our offense does what they need to do, even with Dallas Goedert out, what did Sean talk about last week? AJ Brown's the MVP of the team right now. Like Saquon's been incredible, but AJ Brown, you see the difference because MVP is, we're not talking about stats. We're not talking about everything like that. He's the most valuable player to that team because you saw what happened when he wasn't on the field. You saw what they did in the 3 weeks he wasn't there, and you've seen what he's done in the 3 weeks that they were there, that he was there. He's a monster in coverage. They always seem to know exactly when to find him on one-on-one. Jalen just has some kind of sixth sense of knowing exactly where to put the ball, where he'll completely miss somebody wide open, throw a bad pass, whatever. But when AJ Brown's one-on-one, you almost never see the ball anywhere other than dropped in a bucket. So look for AJ Brown to continue to have his dominant reign. Devonta Smith, 1 catch for -2 yards. You're not going to see that possibly again for the rest of his career. I mean, look for him to have a big game. And then Saquon Barkley, going to be Saquon Barkley. I don't know what to tell you. Today's episode is brought to you by Tackle Up. Tackle Up is a premier, high-quality fishing shirt, lifestyle apparel company. They're providing the best quality shirts. You see us wearing them all the time. You saw the Double B, Double D, Bring Back Dollar Dog shirt, and we're going to be debuting a Red October shirt here soon. Head on over to tackleup.net. Use promo code Talkin215 for 15% off site-wide. And even if you're not getting one of those shirts, they have Who Rags, they have Grundens, all kinds of other incredible fishing apparel, all the things you need. I understand winter is coming, and it might not be the best time for you to be getting fishing stuff right now for you to use, but guess what? It's also coming. Christmas, Hanukkah, all of the other gift-giving seasons where you can give your loved ones the exact gift that they need, which is a Tackle Up shirt. Tackleup.net. Let's do it.
I mean, that trio right there, I know it sucks having Mailata, Goddard, Becton all out, but that trio right there should be enough to get it done. Should be enough to put up some serious points on this Bengals defense. You know,
without a doubt.
I really, really think, and who knows, we might see a Jahan Dotson sighting this Sunday. I mean, it'd be really nice.
No, I was just thinking, like, never know. Get a little Jahan Dotson out there. It's like you're seeing the offense.
What are we asking for, Jake? We're asking for what? 3 catches for 45 yards, maybe? Give me that.
Yeah. No, and with Dallas Goedert out there, they're still trying to. They figured out Grant Calcaterra the one game. Obviously, he didn't do anything last week, but again, we already talked about the passing game wasn't needed whatsoever last week. So don't know if they go back to Grant. Don't know what they're scheming up to get Jahan Dotson going. The more that we can see Kellen Moore's fingerprints on this offense, the more I expect Jahan Dotson to get involved because we've talked about it so many times. He gets wide receiver threes involved heavily. In every team he's ever been on, you see wide receiver threes just feasting when they need to. And this could be a game where he needs to. I mean, you saw Olamide Zaccheaus last year. He only had like 12 catches, but 8 of them were for massive plays, were they not? It always seemed like whenever he caught the ball, it was either a touchdown or a huge conversion.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about with the sacks too, right? Like, I don't need you to lead the league in sacks. I don't need you to lead the league in touchdowns, whatever it is. But if you're getting them at crucial moments of the game, clutch moments of the game, if Jahan Dotson only has 3 catches, but all 3 are for first downs, that's huge. That's monumental. And that's stuff that doesn't show up in the box score all the time. So, I mean, I need him to be a Jason Avant type player.
Yes.
I need him to be that, when we had Deshaun and Macklin, everybody knew that, they could take a slant to the house at any point, or they could beat you deep at any point. They were the explosive playmakers. We have 2 of those. But when you needed a 3rd and 6 over the middle, in between 2 linebackers or a safety, a tough catch or a tightrope, Avant was the guy. So I'd love to see Dotson get into somewhat of that type of mode of, I know my role here, and my role is going to be to move the chains, take pressure off of the rest of the guys, draw attention away from them, do the dirty work, maybe block a little bit. I need him to embrace that role.
No, I love it. And I honestly, I expect it. Like it's every week he's getting more and more comfortable. We forget he joined this team pretty late in the year. Like every week he's getting more and more comfortable. Every week this offense seems to be getting a little bit more and more comfortable. I expect to see Jahan Dotson's role to increase more and more each and every week. And again, Dallas Goedert's out. We have injuries to the offensive line. We're worried about getting the ball out quick, having people needing to hold blocks, like you said, whether it's him making a block, whether it's him doing something like that. Like I expect to see Jahan Dotson to go out there and do something this week. Again, that's not saying much because he has done relatively nothing his entire career as an Eagle thus far. But this could be a massive change with that. Sticking with players, offensive, defensive players to the watch. We'll start with offense for you. Who you got?
The guy who you said had one catch for -2 yards last week. I really think the Bengals are going to try to do whatever they can against AJ, and I think Smitty absolutely thrives. He's going to be my player of the game on offense.
Oh yeah, I'm mad at that. I'm mad at that at all. Player of the game, I've gone AJ Brown the past 2 weeks. I mean, it's a chalk answer. I'm not going to go this week just because you can't go back to back to back. You can almost always make an argument that it is AJ Brown, but I'm going to go what you would think would be a chalk answer, but I really don't think so. I think Jalen Hurts is going to have a game that shuts a lot of people up.
Is
and
he
I'm
using
not gonna,
these?
I'm saying he's using these. He's using these. He's hitting them in a lot of different ways. I mean, in almost every over, I want to take with Jalen Hurts. I want to take over rushing. I want to take over passing. I mean, the passing, and sure, the over under is probably only like 225. But I'm saying he's going to have a darn near close to 300-yard passing game, probably over 40 rushing. He's good for at least one rushing touchdown. He's going to have a game that just shuts a lot of people up. Look, the Birds are 12-1. Either 12 or 13-1 when he doesn't have a turnover, and it's about to be 14-1. We've never won in Cincinnati. We've only tied twice. We're leaving with a dub this week, and it's going to be on Jalen Hurts' shoulders. And you're going to hear me later this year probably complain about Jalen Hurts. You're going to hear me talk about issues he has with getting the ball out quicker, with some weird turnovers where it's like, hey, how can you make these incredible plays and be so smart and then have this play where you throw it into triple coverage? But it's not going to be this week. It's not going to be this week. You're going to see just a clinician out there going out and just slicing and dicing this defense up because the Bengals defense is nothing incredible. They have some pieces. They're nothing incredible. Our defense is better. Our offense should be better. It's going to be a tight game just because, again, we're on the road. I don't expect us to get a first quarter point because why stop now? And it's going to be a tight game for a number of different reasons. But at the end of the day, Jalen Hurts is going to lead this team in victory. On defense, I am going to go with a guy I kind of teased earlier, Bryce Huff. He's gotten better in 3 straight weeks. 3 straight weeks he's gotten better. He's going to continue to do that 4-point stance, continue to get incredible bursts off the line. And when I talk about a closer, Bryce Huff is going to have a big sack in the fourth quarter or a big tackle for a loss, something like that. His fingerprints are going to be all over the fourth quarter for this team.
I like it. I was thinking an edge rusher there. I think Bryce Huff is a great pick just because the trajectory, right? Like you said, it's just going up for him. I normally don't pick secondary players, but I'm going to go Quinyon Mitchell. And this is, I know he played against Neighbors. I know he played against Amari Cooper. This is your first big boy.
Yeah.
Let's go. I know he played against Mike Evans too. And the reason I'm saying this is because when Mike Evans was like, do you know who I am? And look, I love Mike Evans. He's a future Hall of Famer. He has every right to ask that question. When you're Mike Evans, you can say, do you know who I am, rookie? You can big boy somebody when you put up those stats. And Quinyon was like, who? So what? You got one catch for 4 yards. What does that have to do with me?
Who are you to me?
Yeah. Like from game one against Christian Watson, he was in his face telling him like, I'm here. You got to worry about me, not the other way around. This is your first game against who some people think is the best receiver in the NFL. When you mention wide receiver list, Jamar Chase is top 3 in pretty much everybody's list. You know, he's always going to be up there. You've seen Jamar Chase 300-yard receiving games, 200, just going crazy. And the defense knows it coming. So I'm going to go Q. And the defense player of the game, I don't need him to have 2 interceptions. I don't need to have him a forced fumble. I need you to be annoying, like you said, CJ is pesky, frustrate him, jam him at the line. Think of when Julio was going up against Jalen Mills, and we all know Jalen Mills is not anywhere on Julio's level, but Jalen Mills was in his face, in his hip pocket. They tried to throw the game-winning touchdown. He was right there.
Got away with a little bit of contact here and there because he was doing it all game long.
Yeah. do it enough to where it frustrates him. I don't know why I'm talking so long about this. Q is my pick for defense.
Love it. Love it. Score prediction. What do you got?
I'm going to go super, super close. I'm going to go 24-23 Birds on the foot of Jake Elliott at the end.
Wow. Taking the under. It's a 47.5 point under.
Until, I mean, I'm only working with 3 quarters, Jake. Like if it was a 4-quarter game, like I might with the Eagles, I might be able to go over.
That's fair. Now I'm actually going the under as well for the same exact reason, because I don't see them going out and scoring the first quarter. I am going 27-20 Birds. They have the opportunity. They have the ball. We end it in victory formation, but Bengals have the ball late. Bryce Huff makes some kind of big play, stop it on downs, batted down pass, something like that. We get the ball back, end the game in a knee.
I love it. I like that.
Oh, yeah. Coach, it's always a pleasure having an episode of just me and you. We love all the guys.
Yeah,
but
man,
it kind of
the 2 J's.
Brings us back to the roots. A little bit of a quicker episode. We got our friends over at Bucket Golf on Shark Tank right now. So we're excited to turn that on, see if they get a deal, who they might get a deal with. So wrapping it up so we can watch our friends over at Bucket Golf have their national premiere. So really excited to see that. But Coach, final thought?
Final thought. Birds get their first win in Cincinnati in franchise history. Let's go.
Final thought. Go Birds.